I want to ask you something personal. Do you eat eggs regularly? Maybe a boiled egg in the morning, maybe scrambled with toast. Maybe you reach for them because you've been told they're one of the healthiest proteins you can eat after 60. And you're not wrong about that. But here's what nobody is telling you. There's a specific way that people over 60 are eating eggs every single day that is quietly overloading their kidneys. Not in a dramatic, obvious way. Silently, without pain, without warning. Until the damage has been building for months, sometimes years. And by the time the symptoms show up, the swollen ankles, the exhaustion, the foggy thinking, the kidneys are already significantly compromised. I've seen this pattern more times than I want to count. And every single time, the patient says the same thing. But I thought eggs were healthy. They can be, but only if you understand what I'm about to tell you. Stay with me, because this is one of the most important conversations I have with patients over 60, and most people never hear it until it's too late. Here's what most people believe about eggs and kidney health. They believe the choice is simple. Either eggs are good for you or they're bad for you. Either eat them freely or avoid them completely. I've seen both extremes destroy people's health. I've seen patients who ate eggs without any consideration and slowly pushed their kidneys past a breaking point. And I've seen patients who were so frightened by what they read online that they cut out eggs entirely and ended up malnourished, losing muscle, their bodies literally beginning to break themselves down. Both outcomes are real. Both are preventable. The truth is more nuanced than either extreme. And that nuance is exactly what I want to give you today. My name is Dr. Ben Bates. I've spent over 20 years in preventive medicine, working specifically with adults over 60. I've reviewed thousands of patient histories. I've worked alongside nephrologists, kidney specialists, and watched what happens when the right information arrives too late. I'm not here to take eggs away from you. I'm here to make sure you understand the one mistake that turns this incredible food into something that slowly damages the most overlooked organ in your body. Let's start with understanding what's actually happening inside your kidneys. Because once you see this picture clearly, everything else will make sense.
The aging
Your
kidney
kidneys
is like
are
a filter
filters.
after 60
Think of a
years
brand
use.
new water filter.
Pores narrower,
Clean,
processing
efficient,
slower, reserve
processing
capacity
everything
drops
smoothly.
significantly.
Now imagine that same filter after 60 years of constant use. The pores are narrower. The processing is slower. The reserve capacity has dropped significantly. That's what's happening inside the kidneys of most adults over 60. Not because something went wrong, but because that's the natural trajectory of aging. By 70,
age 70,
most people have lost 30 to 40% of the kidney
40%
function they had at 30.
they had at
And
30.
here's why that matters specifically for eggs and protein. When your body processes protein, any protein, it produces waste products.
When the
Nitrogen-based
aging kidney
compounds that have to be
processes
filtered
protein,
out of the blood.
nitrogen-based
In
waste
a young
products
kidney, that's
accumulate
handled
faster.
efficiently.
The filter gets
It's like
pushed.
routine paperwork. In an older kidney, a kidney running at 60% capacity, that same workload becomes something closer to overtime. The filter gets pushed harder. The waste accumulates faster. And over time, the constant overload accelerates deterioration. This is why the amount of protein you eat and how you eat it matters so much more after 60 than it ever did before. But here's where I want to challenge something you may believe. Most people, when they hear this, immediately think the answer is to stop eating protein, stop eating eggs, eat less meat, protect the kidneys by giving them less to filter. I had a patient I'll call Walter, 74 years old, former high school principal, organized, careful man. He came to me after his annual checkup showed his kidney function had declined slightly, nothing alarming, but trending in the wrong direction. He went home, read everything he could find, and made a decision. He cut out eggs completely. He reduced meat to almost nothing. He was living on rice, bread, and vegetables. 6 months later, he came back. His kidney numbers had not improved, but something else had happened. He had lost 14 pounds of muscle mass. He was struggling to get up from a chair without using both hands. He had developed anemia, and his immune function had dropped enough that he caught pneumonia and ended up hospitalized. The hospitalization and bed rest did more damage to his kidneys than the protein ever had. He looked at me from his chair and said, "I thought I was protecting myself." Walter made the most common mistake I see in patients over 60. He overcorrected. And that overcorrection cost him 6 months of his health and put him in a far more vulnerable position than when he started. Here's the truth that gets lost in the noise online.
When the body
After
doesn't get
60,
enough protein
the
from
danger
food,
of too
it
little
breaks
protein
down
is
muscle
often
tissue,
greater than the danger
releasing
of
the
too
same
much.
nitrogen waste that
When your body
dietary
doesn't get
protein
enough
produces.
protein from food, it doesn't simply go without. It breaks down your own muscle tissue to get what it needs. And when muscle breaks down, it releases the same nitrogen waste products that dietary protein produces. So you end up taxing your kidneys anyway, while simultaneously losing the muscle mass that keeps you upright, mobile, and independent. Removing eggs is not the answer. Understanding how to eat them, that's the answer. So what is the actual mistake that's damaging kidneys in people over 60? There are 3 specific patterns I see repeatedly, and I want to walk you through each one clearly. The first mistake: eating egg yolks every day without monitoring phosphorus. Here's something most people don't know about eggs. The white and the yolk are almost completely different foods from the perspective of kidney health. The egg white is essentially pure, high-quality protein. It contains almost no phosphorus. For kidney health, it's close to ideal. The yolk is a different story. One egg yolk contains approximately 90 to 100 milligrams of phosphorus. Now, phosphorus is an essential mineral. You need it. In a young, healthy body with strong kidney function, excess phosphorus is filtered out in the urine. But in a kidney operating at reduced capacity, phosphorus is one of the first things that starts to accumulate. And when phosphorus builds up in the bloodstream, something alarming begins to happen. The body tries to balance rising phosphorus levels by pulling calcium out of the bones. Your bones literally begin to lose density to compensate for what the kidneys can't filter. At the same time, elevated phosphorus causes calcium to deposit in places it shouldn't be, inside the walls of your blood vessels. Your arteries begin to calcify. They harden and lose elasticity. Blood pressure rises. The risk of heart attack and stroke climbs significantly. And this process happens silently. No pain, no obvious symptoms. Just a quiet deterioration building underneath the surface. While you eat your daily hard-boiled egg thinking you're doing something healthy, I want to stop here and ask you directly. Has your doctor ever checked your phosphorus levels? Most standard blood panels don't include it automatically, and yet in patients over 65, phosphorus accumulation is one of the most under-detected risk factors I see. Ask for it specifically at your next appointment. What to do? If your kidney function is still in a healthy range, 1 whole egg per day is generally manageable. But if your doctor has told you your kidneys are showing any signs of strain, consider switching to 1 whole egg plus 1 or 2 egg whites. This gives you the complete protein profile of the whole egg while dramatically reducing your phosphorus load. And always eat your eggs with vegetables first. The fiber in the vegetables creates a physical barrier in the gut that slows the absorption of phosphorus and helps more of it move through the digestive tract rather than entering the bloodstream. Vegetables first. Always. Every meal. The second mistake: eating eggs with processed meats every morning. Ham and eggs, bacon and eggs, sausage and eggs. This is the American breakfast. And for people over 60 with any degree of reduced kidney function, it may be one of the most consistently damaging meals of the day. Here's why. Processed meats contain a form of phosphorus called inorganic phosphorus, found in preservatives and food additives.
or higher.
This form is
compared
absorbed
to
into the bloodstream at a rate of 90% or higher. Compare that to the natural phosphorus in eggs, which is bound to protein and absorbed at roughly 40 to 60%. When you combine eggs with processed meats like bacon or sausage, you're not just doubling your phosphorus load, you're stacking a highly absorbable form on top of an already meaningful amount. The kidneys receive a phosphorus surge that a reduced capacity filter simply cannot handle efficiently. I've had patients switch from bacon and eggs every morning to a single boiled egg with sautéed vegetables and see measurable improvements in their kidney markers within 8 weeks. Not from medication, from removing one combination from their breakfast plate. What to do? If you love eggs in the morning, keep them, but remove the processed meat from the same meal. If you want protein alongside your egg, choose a small portion of plain Greek yogurt, a few walnuts, or a scoop of cottage cheese. These provide protein without the inorganic phosphorus load of processed meat products. Let me tell you about a patient I'll call Sylvia. 69 years old, retired nurse, sharp, health-conscious woman. She knew her nutrition. She read labels. She had been eating what she called a clean, protein-rich breakfast for years. 2 hard-boiled eggs and 3 slices of turkey bacon, every single morning. She came to me after her nephrologist mentioned that her kidney function numbers had been declining slowly but consistently for the past 2 years. No explanation had been offered. She wasn't diabetic. She wasn't significantly hypertensive. When I walked her through the phosphorus math on her breakfast, she went quiet. "I thought turkey bacon was the healthy option," she said. "It's lower in fat than regular bacon, but the inorganic phosphorus in processed turkey products is just as significant as in any other processed meat." Sylvia removed the turkey bacon entirely. She kept 1 egg, added a handful of spinach sautéed in olive oil, and a small serving of plain Greek yogurt. 3 months later, her kidney markers had stabilized for the first time in 2 years. Her nephrologist noted the improvement at her next visit and asked what she had changed. 1 breakfast swap. That was all. The third mistake: eating too many eggs too close together without protein rotation. This one is subtler. But after 20 years of working with patients over 60, I see it constantly. The body processes protein most effectively when it arrives in moderate, well-spaced amounts. A large protein load, even from a clean source like eggs, sends a surge of waste products to the kidneys that a reduced capacity filter struggles to process all at once. Spreading protein intake across the day gives the kidneys manageable, steady workload rather than repeated surges. So if you eat 2 eggs at breakfast, a protein-heavy lunch, and another significant protein portion at dinner, you are sending your kidneys 3 separate surges every single day. Over weeks and months, that pattern accumulates. What to do? Aim for 1 moderate protein source per meal, not multiple concentrated sources stacked together. 1 egg at breakfast, with vegetables and perhaps a small amount of yogurt. A moderate portion of fish or legumes at lunch. A small serving of chicken or plant protein at dinner. And rotate your protein sources. Don't eat eggs every single day without variation. Rotating between eggs, fish, beans, tofu, and small amounts of lean meat distributes the amino acid load differently and gives the kidneys a more varied, manageable workload. This is one of the simplest things I know, and one of the most consistently ignored. Now, I want to give you the other side of this, because I said at the beginning that eggs are not the enemy, and I meant it. When eaten correctly, eggs are one of the most powerful foods available to a person over 60. The protein in egg whites has the highest biological value of any food in the human diet. It is used by the body with near-perfect efficiency. For people over 60 who are at risk of sarcopenia, the gradual loss of muscle mass that accelerates after 65, egg white protein is one of the most effective dietary tools available. Muscle loss is not just an aesthetic concern. Loss of muscle in adults over 60 is directly associated with increased fall risk, reduced immune function, slower recovery from illness, and accelerated overall physical decline. People who maintain muscle mass as they age live longer, more independently, and with dramatically better quality of life. And one of the most accessible, affordable ways to support muscle maintenance after 60 is the humble egg, specifically the egg white. Eaten in reasonable amounts, with vegetables, rotated alongside plant proteins, and kept away from processed meat combinations. That egg is not your enemy. It's one of your most powerful tools, when you know how to use it. Let me bring everything together. The 3 mistakes that turn eggs from a health food into a kidney burden. Mistake 1. Eating whole eggs daily without monitoring phosphorus, especially if your kidney function has already shown any decline. Fix. 1 whole egg maximum per day. Eat whites for additional protein, always with vegetables first. Mistake 2. Pairing eggs with processed meats at the same meal. The inorganic phosphorus in bacon, sausage, and turkey products is absorbed at nearly double the rate of natural phosphorus. Fix. Remove processed meat from egg meals entirely. Substitute plant proteins or plain dairy. Mistake 3. Stacking multiple protein sources at the same meal, every day. Fix. 1 moderate protein source per meal, rotated across different sources throughout the week. Here's what to expect when you make these changes consistently. In the first week, you may not feel different yet. You're removing a source of daily strain. The kidneys need time to reduce their workload. By the second week, some patients notice less bloating after meals, less fluid retention in the ankles by end of day. Sleep quality often begins to improve. By the end of the first month, patients who were monitoring their kidney markers often begin to see stabilization or modest improvement in their lab numbers. This is not a cure. It is the removal of a consistent daily burden that was compounding silently. And your kidneys, even at reduced capacity, are remarkably responsive to a reduced load. I want to close with something
By the second
I
week of
genuinely
changes,
believe.
some patients
Your
notice
kidneys
less
have been
bloating,
filtering
less
your
fluid
blood every
retention in the
single minute
ankles
of
by
your
end of
life,
day.
without complaining, without stopping, without ever asking you to notice them. They deserve your attention now, not fear, not extreme restriction, just informed, thoughtful choices about the foods that ask the most from them, starting with the eggs on your breakfast plate. You now know what the mistake is. You know why it happens, and you know exactly what to do differently. That knowledge belongs to you. Starting with your next meal, I want to hear from you. Which of these 3 mistakes did you recognize in your own routine? Leave it in the
Your
comments.
kidneys have been filtering
Be
your
honest.
blood every minute
I
of your
read
life
everyone.
without complaining,
And if
without
someone
stopping,
you love is
without
over
ever
60
asking
and
you to
eating
notice
eggs
them.
every morning, please share this video with them. Not to alarm them, to give them what you now have. The information that makes the difference between eggs being a daily burden on their kidneys and eggs being one of the most powerful tools they have. Subscribe if you haven't already. Because every week I bring you honest, specific, practical information about how to protect your health after 60 in ways that rarely come up in a standard appointment. Take care of those kidneys. They've been taking care of you your entire life. It's time to return the favor. Everything in this video is general medical information based on published research and clinical experience. It is not a substitute for your personal medical care. Please speak with your own physician or nephrologist before making significant changes to your diet, especially if you have been diagnosed with any degree of kidney disease or are managing diabetes or high blood pressure.